The silence in the UN Assembly Hall felt heavier than gravity itself. Ambassador Talvin of the Krell stood at the podium, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the lights as compound eyes surveyed the gathered humans with barely concealed contempt. Behind him, holographic displays showed the massive coalition fleet hovering just beyond Earth's atmosphere, 200 warships representing 3 species that had ruled the galaxy for centuries. Your species has 24 hours to accept integration into the Galactic Coalition, Talvin announced, mandibles clicking with each word. This is not a negotiation, this is inevitability. Director James Wu sat motionless at the human delegation table, hands folded calmly despite the murmurs erupting around him. Beside him, Captain Rebecca Hall studied the alien's body language through narrowed eyes, noting the confident posture of someone who had never encountered real resistance. Ambassador Talvin, James spoke quietly, forcing the alien to lean forward to hear him. We appreciate your visit, but Earth requires time to consider such a significant decision. The Krell's laughter sounded like breaking glass. Time? You primitives think you have leverage. He gestured toward the displays. Commander Rothak of the Dulmer warrior caste commands enough firepower to reduce your cities to ash. Dr. Serena of the Varos leads scientific teams that have cataloged every weakness in your pathetic defenses. You have nothing we cannot take. Rebecca felt her jaw tighten, but maintained her neutral expression. The Coalition had indeed conducted unauthorized scans of Earth's military installations, orbital platforms, and defense networks. What they had seen apparently amused them. Nuclear weapons that seemed primitive compared to their plasma cannons, conventional missiles that looked like toys beside their kinetic bombardment systems. What they hadn't seen were the installations that mattered. We understand your position, James continued with the same measured tone. However, Earth's sovereignty is not negotiable. We request that your fleet withdraw to a respectful distance while we formulate our response. Talvin's compound eyes seemed to glitter with malicious joy. Respect, from prey. He turned to address the entire assembly. Let me clarify your situation. Your nuclear arsenals are Stone Age relics. Your space stations are fragile bubbles waiting to pop. Your unity is a facade barely holding together a planet of squabbling tribes. The Coalition has conquered species far more advanced than yours without losing a single vessel. The holographic display shifted, showing a remote island in the Pacific Ocean. Since you require motivation to understand reality, we will demonstrate our reach. This uninhabited location will be eliminated in 10 minutes. Consider it a lesson in humility. The assembly erupted in chaos as delegates shouted protests and demands. Talvin simply walked out, his chitinous feet clicking against the marble floor. In orbit, the Coalition fleet adjusted its formation, 3 destroyers positioning themselves over the targeted coordinates. Rebecca's earpiece crackled to life. All defensive platforms are active and awaiting your authorization, a voice reported. She glanced at James, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. Engage Protocol Sentinel, Rebecca said quietly into her wristcom. Let's see if they're paying attention. 9 minutes and 30 seconds after Talvin's announcement, the Coalition destroyers launched their attack. 18 plasma missiles streaked toward Earth's atmosphere, each carrying enough destructive power to vaporize several city blocks. Coalition sensors tracked their descent with satisfaction. Then something unexpected happened. The missiles simply stopped existing. On the lead destroyer's command deck, Rothak stared at his tactical display in confusion. Sensor officer, report. Sir, all missiles intercepted and neutralized before reaching the target zone. The officer's reptilian features showed genuine bewilderment. I'm detecting energy signatures consistent with directed particle beam weapons, but the source is. Is what? Rothak demanded. Everywhere, Commander. The entire planet appears to have activated a defensive grid we never detected. Back in the UN assembly, Talvin burst through the doors, his composure shattered. What did you do? What kind of technology was that? James Wu stood slowly, straightening his jacket. Technology we developed while you assumed we were primitives playing with fireworks. He walked toward the alien ambassador, each step deliberate. You scanned our cities and saw nuclear reactors. You didn't realize those reactors power defensive systems that make your plasma weapons look like sparklers. Impossible, Talvin hissed. Our intelligence clearly showed you exactly what we wanted you to see, Rebecca interjected, moving to stand beside James. You think you're the first aggressive species to find Earth. You think we spent centuries developing weapons just to fight each other. She pulled up her own holographic display, showing Coalition ship schematics with detailed vulnerability analyses. We've been watching you for years. We know your shield frequencies, your hull composition, your reactor designs. We chose to greet you peacefully because that's what civilized species do. But make no mistake, James continued, his voice dropping to something cold and final. Every human colony, every orbital platform, every city on this planet is protected by systems your sensors cannot detect and your weapons cannot penetrate. Your 24-hour ultimatum is rejected. He stepped closer to Talvin, close enough that the alien could see his own reflection in the human's eyes. Here's our counteroffer. You have 12 hours to withdraw your fleet beyond the orbit of Mars. After that, we will consider your presence an act of war. And Ambassador Talvin, James smiled without warmth, we have been perfecting the art of war since before your species discovered fire. Test us, and you will learn why humanity survived when we had nothing but each other to fight. The alien ambassador stumbled backward, mandibles working soundlessly. In orbit, Coalition Commander Rothak watched his sensor displays light up with thousands of previously invisible defensive platforms. Earth had just revealed it was not a primitive world waiting to be conquered. It was a fortress that had been waiting for exactly this moment. Commander Rothak's clawed hand slammed against his command console hard enough to crack the reinforced display. Around him, the bridge of the Coalition flagship descended into controlled chaos as officers shouted reports and damage assessments. 6 hours had passed since humanity's ultimatum, and the Dulmer warrior's pride would not allow retreat. Tactical analysis complete, Commander, his second officer reported, reptilian eyes reflecting the crimson emergency lighting. Human defensive grid utilizes quantum-linked targeting systems. They can track and intercept our weapons before firing solutions are even calculated. Then we overwhelm them with volume, Rothak growled. Prepare full assault formation, every ship maximum firepower, I refuse. To be humiliated by mammals who only left their planet 2 generations ago. Dr. Serena of the Varos watched the preparations with growing dread from her science station. Her aquatic species valued knowledge above conquest, and everything her research revealed about humanity terrified her. She had spent the past hours accessing human data networks, translating their history, their culture, their endless capacity for violence. Commander, I must object, Serena said, her voice modulated through the water-filled helmet she wore. My analysis of human civilization suggests. Your analysis is irrelevant, Talvin interrupted, the Krell ambassador's presence on the bridge a reminder of coalition politics. The Council has voted. Earth must submit or burn. Our reputation across the galaxy depends on it. The Coalition fleet moved into attack formation, a 3-dimensional sphere designed to strike Earth from every angle simultaneously. Rothak's tactical display showed the plan in brutal detail. 6 major population centers would be hit within seconds, overwhelming human defenses through sheer destructive power. All vessels report ready, the weapons officer announced. Fire, Rothak commanded. 3,000 missiles and energy weapons launched in perfect synchronization. It was a display of firepower that had shattered planetary defenses on 73 worlds. Coalition officers watched their displays with grim satisfaction. Earth's response was immediate and devastating. Defensive satellites humans had disguised as communications arrays activated quantum targeting computers. Every incoming projectile was tracked, analyzed, and assigned a countermeasure in nanoseconds. particle beam weapons invisible to coalition sensors carved through space, detonating missiles millions of kilometers from their targets. Energy shields flared into existence over cities, absorbing plasma bursts that should have melted continental plates. "Impossible," Talvin whispered, watching his species' most powerful weapons splash harmlessly against invisible barriers. Rebecca Hall stood in Colorado's underground military command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing real-time battle data. Her expression remained calm despite the enormity of what was happening. Humanity's first interstellar war was being fought in the space above their home. "Defensive systems operating at 40% capacity," an analyst reported. "Zero casualties, zero structural damage to protected zones." "Activate Phase 2, Rebecca ordered. "Show them what we built on the moon." On Luna's far side, massive doors opened in craters humans had excavated over decades. Railgun batteries emerged, each barrel 300 meters long and powered by fusion reactors. Tungsten carbide rods accelerated to 15% of light speed, turned into relativistic weapons that coalition shields were never designed to stop. The first volley caught 3 coalition destroyers positioned above North America. The projectiles punched through their shields like they weren't there, passed through the ship's hulls without slowing, and continued into deep space. The destroyers simply came apart, structural integrity failing as hypersonic impacts created catastrophic failures throughout their systems. "Evasive maneuvers," Rothak screamed, but his ships were designed for overwhelming primitives, not fighting enemies who could hit back. 2 more volleys followed. Coalition vessels scattered in panic as invisible projectiles tore through their formation. The mighty fleet that had conquered dozens of species found itself outmatched by defenders they had dismissed as primitive. Serena's instruments showed her the horrifying truth. "Commander, their weapons are elegantly simple. Kinetic energy weapons using physics we all understand, but accelerated beyond anything we thought possible. They must have been testing these systems for decades." She pulled up more data, her research into human history finally making terrible sense. "Commander, I've analyzed their planetary records. Humans have been in continuous armed conflict for their entire recorded history. Over 10,000 years of warfare. They've fought each other with everything from sharpened stones to nuclear weapons. Every nation on that planet independently developed military technology." "What are you saying?" Rothak demanded, watching another ship on his display flicker and die. "I'm saying we attacked a species that has been weaponizing everything they touch since before they developed written language." Serena's voice carried equal parts fear and admiration. "Their internet, which we thought was a primitive communication network, allows real-time coordination between every defensive installation on the planet. They think and react as a unified organism. We've never encountered anything like it." Another spread of railgun fire destroyed 5 more coalition ships. Rothak's fleet had lost 30 vessels in less than an hour. The Dulmer commander's warrior pride warred with tactical reality. He was losing. "Fall back to lunar orbit," he finally ordered, the words tasting like poison. "Reform and reassess." As coalition ships retreated in disorder, James Wu opened a communication channel that reached every vessel simultaneously. His face appeared on their displays, expression neutral but eyes hard as stone. "Commander Rothak, Ambassador Talvin, Dr. Serena, and all coalition personnel," James began. "What you've experienced is Earth's defensive capability. We have not deployed our offensive weapons. We have not used our nuclear arsenal, our biological deterrents, or our chemical weapons. We have not launched our fighter craft or activated our orbital strike platforms." He leaned forward slightly. "This is your final warning. Leave our system peacefully or discover what humanity created during 10,000 years of fighting each other. The choice is yours, but choose quickly. Our patience has limits." The transmission ended. Rothak stared at the empty screen, then at his tactical display showing the battered remnants of his once mighty fleet. For the first time in his military career, the Dulmer warrior understood what it meant to be prey. Admiral Drask studied the tactical reports with cold fury. The massive Dulmer commander had arrived in Sol's system with 200 fresh warships, replacing Rothak's shattered fleet with overwhelming force. Unlike his predecessor, Drask built his reputation on ruthless efficiency rather than honor. He had crushed 17 rebellions across Coalition space, and Earth would be no different. "Target their infrastructure," Drask ordered, his scarred reptilian face showing no emotion. "Power grids, communication hubs, agricultural centers, we will strangle them slowly until they beg for mercy." His fleet began with humanity's asteroid mining colonies, small outposts scattered through the belt, each housing fewer than 50 personnel. Easy targets that would demonstrate coalition reach while cutting off Earth's resource supply. The first mining station appeared abandoned when coalition troops breached its airlocks. Automated systems still functioned, lights still glowed, but no humans remained. The boarding party advanced cautiously through empty corridors. "Nothing here but mining equipment," the squad leader reported. "Looks like they evacuated when." The explosion vaporized the entire station and the coalition ship attached to it. Humans had turned their mining charges into proximity bombs, transforming civilian infrastructure into deadly traps. Drask watched 3 more mining stations detonate in rapid succession, each taking coalition vessels with them. "They're willing to destroy their own facilities," he noted with grudging respect. "Recalculate approach, treat every human structure as hostile." The coalition fleet adjusted tactics, bombarding stations from distance. But even here, humans had prepared surprises. Automated defense drones emerged from asteroid hiding spots, using mining lasers powerful enough to cut through solid rock. Those lasers carved through coalition armor with equal efficiency. "How are mining tools destroying our warships?" an officer demanded. Dr. Serena, retained as an advisor despite her earlier warnings, accessed human industrial databases. "Because they never stopped militarizing," she explained. "Every tool they build has dual purpose. Every civilian technology becomes weaponized. These mining lasers were always designed to double as defensive weapons." Drask's eyes narrowed. "Then we target their largest off-world colony, Mars, 50,000 civilians, mostly scientists and families. They cannot have militarized everyone." The coalition battle group approached the red planet in overwhelming force. Surely a science colony could not resist. Mars colony activated defense protocols developed over 30 years of settlement. Orbital platforms bristled with weapons hidden inside research modules. Ground installations revealed railguns disguised as atmospheric processors. The Martian colonists, far from being soft scientists, were descendants of Earth's most determined pioneers. "Incoming coalition landing craft," the Mars Defense Coordinator announced, "deploying countermeasures." The surface of Mars erupted with defensive fire. Railguns launched projectiles through the thin atmosphere, while underground tunnel networks allowed rapid repositioning of forces. Coalition troops that managed to land found themselves in a labyrinth where every scientist doubled as a soldier. Every research station concealed weapons. "These are supposed to be civilians," a coalition squad leader screamed as Martian researchers ambushed his unit with improvised explosives and modified excavation equipment. Drask committed his reserves, determined to establish a beachhead. His forces eventually secured territory near Olympus Mons, but casualties mounted with every meter advanced. The Martian colonists fought with desperate creativity, turning terraforming equipment into weapons, using dust storms for cover, appearing and disappearing through tunnel networks that honeycombed the planet's crust. On Earth, Rebecca received updated casualty reports from Mars. "They're holding, but barely," she turned to James. "Request permission to deploy the Rapid Response Fleet." James hesitated only a moment. "Authorized, protect our people." Earth's orbital shipyards released vessels coalition sensors had never detected. Sleek frigates built for speed rather than firepower, their fusion drives capable of acceleration that violated Coalition understanding of physics. The response fleet crossed the Earth-Mars distance in one-third the expected time. Admiral Drask's tactical display suddenly showed new contacts appearing in Martian orbit. Identify those vessels immediately. Unknown class, Admiral. They're smaller than our frigates but moving at impossible speeds. Energy signatures suggest advanced fusion systems. They're positioning between our fleet and Mars' surface. The human rapid response frigates deployed their primary weapon, electromagnetic pulse generators that could disable electronics without destroying hulls. Coalition ships throughout the battle group went dark simultaneously, power systems crashing, communications failing, weapons offline. Drask's flagship lost main power. Emergency systems struggled to activate as the massive vessel began falling toward Mars' gravity well. Around him, his fleet drifted helplessly, dead in space. Then something unexpected happened. Human ships approached the disabled Coalition vessels. Instead of finishing them, they deployed rescue teams. Coalition personnel, including Drask himself, found themselves pulled from dying ships by humans in powered armor. They were brought aboard human vessels, given emergency medical treatment, provided with food and water. Enemy soldiers treated with the same care as allies. Dr. Serena, rescued from a crippled science vessel, watched human medics treating injured Dulmer warriors with professional efficiency. "Why are you saving us?" she asked the medical officer. The human looked at her with surprise. "Because you need help." It was stated as obvious fact, no further explanation required. On Mars' surface, Coalition troops who surrendered were similarly treated, given medical care, fed, housed in temporary facilities. Confused soldiers who expected execution or imprisonment found themselves protected by the very enemies they had tried to kill. Admiral Drask, humiliated but alive, sat in a human detention facility aboard one of their frigates. James Wu visited him personally. "Your fleet is disabled, your troops are captured, and Mars remains free," James stated calmly. "I'm offering a ceasefire and prisoner exchange. All your people returned safely in exchange for immediate withdrawal from our system." Drask's reptilian features twisted with conflicting emotions. "Why would you show mercy to those who attacked your families?" James considered the question seriously. "Because we're not fighting for conquest or pride. We're defending our home, you're defeated. Killing you accomplishes nothing. Showing mercy might accomplish peace." Before Drask could respond, Dr. Serena was escorted into the room. Her expression carried urgent fear. "Director Wu, I must warn you," she said quickly. Before communications were cut, Admiral Drask sent a distress signal to Coalition Central Command. "They're going to deploy the Void Hunters." She turned to Drask. "Tell them you didn't." The Admiral's silence confirmed the truth. James felt cold dread settle in his stomach. "What are Void Hunters?" "Mercenaries from deep space," Serena explained. "Perfect predators who have never lost a contract in 500 years. If they're coming, this war just became something far worse." Dr. Serena stood before the emergency session of Earth's unified command, her water-filled helmet reflecting the grim faces of human military leaders. Outside, scattered Coalition forces maintained uneasy ceasefire while waiting for rescue. Inside, humanity prepared for a threat unlike anything they had faced. "The Void Hunters evolved on a rogue planet drifting through deep space," Serena explained, holographic displays showing fragmentary intelligence data. "Complete darkness, extreme gravity, electromagnetic storms, they became perfect predators, hunting by sensing electrical fields rather than light." She pulled up images of their ships, irregular black masses that seemed to absorb light. Itself, Rebecca studied the data with tactical focus. "How do they fight?" "Stealth and terror," Serena replied. "They infiltrate systems silently, sabotage infrastructure, eliminate targets without being detected. By the time defenders realize they're under attack, the hunters control the battlefield. 17 species surrendered to Coalition rather than face them." James Wu absorbed this information with characteristic calm. How long until they arrive? Their fastest ships could reach Sol system within 10 days. Serena hesitated. Director Wu, you must understand. Calling the Void Hunters means coalition leadership has abandoned any pretense of honorable conquest. They want Earth broken, regardless of cost. The room fell silent as humans processed the implications. Then we have 10 days to prepare, Rebecca stated. What are their weaknesses? Serena's expression showed doubt. In 500 years, no one has found any. They adapt to every countermeasure, learn from every engagement. They're not warriors bound by honor like the Dulmer or merchants seeking profit like the Krell. They hunt for the pure satisfaction of the kill. While Earth mobilized, political earthquake shook what remained of the coalition fleet. Dr. Serena's defection had created fractures that military defeat widened into chasms. Commander Haller, a Varro's officer who had served with Serena, approached human lines under white flag protocol. I bring intelligence about Void Hunter tactics, Haller explained to Rebecca. And a warning, they will not limit themselves to military targets. Hunters believe terror is their most effective weapon. They will target civilians, children, anyone who can scream. Rebecca felt rage flash through her but kept her voice level. Why are you helping us? Because I've studied your species through Dr. Serena's research, Haller responded. You fight to protect, not to conquer. The coalition has become what we were supposed to prevent. Bullies who use strength to dominate the weak. If Void Hunters succeed here, they'll sell their services to the highest bidder. Today it's Earth. Tomorrow it could be my homeworld. Over the next 8 days, human scientists worked frantically. They created a network of sensor satellites using Earth's magnetic field as a detection grid. Theory suggested that while Void Hunters could hide from individual sensors, a planet-wide coordinated system might track them. Electromagnetic disturbances their ships created. It's never been tested, the lead scientist admitted to Rebecca. We're betting everything on an untested hypothesis. Humans have been doing that since we climbed down from trees, Rebecca replied. We'll make it work. On day 9, gravitational sensors registered massive spatial distortions at the edge of Sol system. 30 Void Hunter vessels emerged from hyperspace near Neptune's orbit. Unlike Coalition's colorful warships, these appeared as absences in space itself. Matte black surfaces that absorbed sensor beams, irregular shapes that defied conventional design. A transmission cut through all frequencies. Primitives of Earth, you have been marked for culling. No surrender will be accepted. No mercy will be given. We are the Void Hunters and you are prey. The ships vanished from sensors. Days of silence followed. Human forces remained on maximum alert, but no attacks came. The psychological pressure became crushing as civilians huddled in underground shelters, wondering when death would strike. Then the attacks began. An automated cargo hauler near Jupiter exploded without warning. A research station on Europa went silent, its crew simply vanishing. A military patrol near Saturn ceased transmitting, leaving only wreckage. Rebecca plotted the incidents on a strategic display. They're working inward, eliminating our outer presence. Classic predator behavior, corner prey before the kill. But it also reveals their movement pattern, James noted. They're not invisible, they're just very good at hiding. The trap was set. A supply convoy departed Earth for Mars, broadcasting its route on standard channels. Loaded with critical medical supplies and replacement parts, it made an irresistible target. What Coalition intelligence didn't know. The convoy consisted of disguised warships, and humans had seeded the route with their new sensor network. The Void Hunters took the bait. Human detection grid registered electromagnetic distortions approaching the convoy, invisible to normal sensors but clear as day to the coordinated network. The humans could see them coming. Hunter ships decloaked for their attack, revealing themselves for the first time. Sleek predatory designs bristling with exotic weapons. They moved with fluid grace, confident in their superiority. The cargo ships dropped their disguises. revealing military vessels armed for close combat. Weapons fire filled space as humans and hunters clashed at point-blank range. But hunter armor proved incredibly resilient. Human weapons barely scratched their hulls. The predators began systematically destroying trap ships with brutal efficiency. Rebecca watched casualties mount. Deploy the experimental weapon now. One surviving human vessel activated a device designed specifically for hunter biology, a focused electromagnetic pulse that didn't disable electronics. Instead, it disrupted the electrical sensing organs void hunters had evolved over millions of years. The effect was immediate and catastrophic for the hunters. Their primary sense vanished. Creatures evolved in darkness suddenly found themselves truly blind. A hunter frigate, unable to navigate, collided with an asteroid and shattered. The remaining hunter vessels retreated immediately, faster than humans expected. They broadcast encrypted signals to their main fleet. Target had adapted. Unknown countermeasure deployed. Reassessment required. For the first time in 500 years, void hunters withdrew from an engagement. Rebecca allowed herself a brief moment of satisfaction before returning to tactical displays. They'll be back, and next time they'll know about our sensors. Dr. Serena approached with new intelligence, her expression grave. I decrypted some of their communications. She displayed the translation. They're not treating this as a mercenary contract anymore. You've done something no species has managed in half a millennium. What's that? James asked. You've made it personal. They now consider humanity worthy prey. Serena's voice carried both fear and wonder. They won't stop until either they win or you destroy them completely. This is no longer war. It's a hunt, and they're determined to prove they're still the apex predators. 6 days of relentless hunting had pushed Earth's defenses to their breaking point. Void hunter ships struck without pattern or warning, adapting to every countermeasure humans deployed. They had learned to scatter their electromagnetic signatures, making the sensor network less effective. Casualties mounted as hunter packs isolated and destroyed human vessels with surgical precision. Rebecca stood in the command center, exhaustion evident in every line of her face. Tactical displays showed Earth's outer defenses collapsing inward. We're running out of options, she turned to James. Maybe it's time to deploy the weapons we've been holding back. James shook his head. Nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons would kill us as surely as them in orbital combat. We need another solution. Meanwhile, in the remnants of the Coalition fleet, Admiral Drask faced his own crisis. Dr. Serena had presented evidence that once void hunters finished with Earth, they planned to auction Coalition worlds to the highest bidder. The mercenaries had no loyalty except to profit and the thrill of the hunt. We created a threat worse than humanity, Commander Haller argued during an emergency council. At least humans fight to defend, hunters kill because they enjoy it. Rothak, recovered from his earlier defeat, spoke with unusual humility. I have spent my life believing warriors determine fate through strength, but I watched humans rescue their enemies, treat captured soldiers with dignity, offer mercy when they could have chosen revenge. He looked around the assembled Coalition officers. If we allow hunters to destroy such a species, what does that say about our honor? The vote was close, but decisive. Coalition would offer assistance to Earth against the void hunters. Talvin carried the message to James Wu personally. The Krell ambassador's compound eyes no longer showed contempt, only weary pragmatism. We propose temporary alliance. Coalition tactical knowledge combined with human innovation, defeat the hunters, then negotiate our differences. James studied the alien carefully. How do I know this isn't a trap? You don't, Talvin admitted. But Dr. Serena will provide you with Coalition command codes as sign of good faith. If we betray you, you can disable our entire fleet. Rebecca received the codes and verified their authenticity. She looked at James with surprise. These are real. They're giving us total access to their systems. Then we accept, James decided. Activate combined tactical protocols. For the first time, human and coalition forces coordinated their efforts. Dr. Serena and Commander Haller worked with human scientists, merging alien knowledge of Void Hunter capabilities with human tactical flexibility. They developed a strategy that required perfect timing and total commitment from both sides. The Void Hunters, observing coalition movement toward Earth, interpreted it as desperation. All 30 Hunter vessels converged for a final overwhelming assault. They would break both coalition and humanity simultaneously, proving their supremacy once and for all. The battle began with Hunter ships emerging from stealth across a broad front. Coalition vessels formed the outer defensive perimeter, while human ships created inner layers of protection. Void Hunters pressed their attack with confidence bordering on arrogance. Then humanity revealed what they had truly been building. "Activate Project Salvation," Rebecca ordered. Across Sol system, installations humans had constructed in absolute secrecy came online. Not weapons, but something far more sophisticated. A network of quantum entanglement communicators allowing instantaneous coordination across light years. Coalition forces, granted access to the network, suddenly operated with zero communications lag. Every ship in the combined fleet could react simultaneously. Void Hunters found themselves facing an enemy that thought and moved as a single organism. The second surprise came as Earth's surface opened in dozens of locations. Massive railgun installations emerged, built into the planetary crust itself. But these weren't aimed at the Hunters. Instead, they launched thousands of autonomous drones, each equipped with basic artificial intelligence and suicide programming. The drones' swarm overwhelmed Hunter point defenses through sheer numbers. For every 10 drones destroyed, one penetrated to detonate against Hunter hulls. The Predators had evolved to fight opponents with pride and hesitation. They had no tactics for facing weapons that existed solely to die while taking enemies with them. Admiral Drask's ship took a Hunter plasma burst meant for an Earth city. The Dulmer commander sacrificed his vessel to protect human civilians. As his ship burned, he transmitted final words. "For honor, for redemption, for the right to say we chose correctly when it mattered." The Hunter commander, a creature humanity had never seen, realized the fundamental problem. These prey had no fear. Coalition forces fought with renewed honor. Humans fought with absolute determination. Together, they created a defense that adaptation could not overcome. But the true revelation came when James Wu broadcast on all frequencies. Void Hunters, coalition forces, all witnesses to this moment. His voice carried across the battle. "You came to conquer what you thought was a weak species. You found warriors who matched you. But our true power was never in weapons." He transmitted data that shocked every observer. Complete schematics for Project Salvation, not just communications, but a comprehensive survival system. Backup colonies scattered across hundreds of systems. Generation ships hidden throughout the galaxy. Even uploaded consciousness technology allowing human minds to survive without bodies. "You can destroy Earth," James continued. "You can kill every human in this system, but humanity will endure. We built redundancy into our species' survival. We planned for our own extinction and created ways to persist anyway. That is our true power. We refuse to accept death as final." The Void Hunter commander processed this information. A species that could survive anything was not prey. It was an equal. For the first time in their existence, Hunters felt what their victims had always felt: fear. The Hunter fleet began retreat procedures. Their commander broadcast a final message. "You are worthy opponents. We withdraw," Hunt concluded. Talvin approached the human command center after the battle, his chitinous form showing new respect. "We came to conquer primitives. We found something we didn't expect." "What's that?" Rebecca asked. "A species that chooses peace from a position of strength," the Krell ambassador replied. "That turns enemies into allies. That builds for survival rather than domination." James looked at Earth through the viewport, scarred but intact. "We're explorers and defenders, ambassador, not conquerors. We proved we could fight. Now let's prove we can build something better together. Across the galaxy, the Battle of Earth became legend. Not because humanity won through superior weapons, but because they transformed enemies into allies and demonstrated that true power comes not from the ability to destroy, but from the refusal to be destroyed. Coalition and humanity began negotiations for lasting peace. The age of human isolation had ended. The age of cooperation, purchased with blood and proven through mercy, had begun.